You can clap if you want. Great. So hi, hello. I am very just thrilled to be here. And you might be wondering why in the world I am the keynote speaker. But last year, during World of Lights, which we have already established is really just World of Drinks, Brian was talking to me at some point during the night, and he mentioned that he didn't have a keynote speaker for 2017. So sort of as a joke, he turned to me and he said, "Olivia, you can be the keynote speaker," which I just sort of nervously laughed. But the very next day, a sober Brian approached me and he said, "Okay, but no, really, like I want you to be the keynote speaker." So being told by a drunk Brian that you should be the keynote speaker is one thing, but being told by a hungover yet level-headed Brian is terrifying. Yeah, pretty sure that when he suggested this, I said absolutely nothing. I was like rendered mute. But now it's 2017, and I'm here, and I'm your keynote speaker. So, that being said, if things go south, don't blame me, blame Brian. But in all seriousness, I do want to thank Brian for this opportunity, and would like to thank you all as well in advance for your time and for your attention, and I promise that I will not take the full time. All right, so who the heck am I? As Brian said, my name is Olivia Donahue. I am 20 years old, and I'm actually turning 21 on Saturday.
Just in time for a drunk night.
Yeah, just in time for World of Lights. Anyway, I'm very happy to announce that Brian has so graciously agreed to match all donations to the Olivia Donahue 21st Birthday Fund. Thank you all in advance. I encourage you to give generously. Thank you, Brian. Yeah, so anyway, as Brian said, first of all, he didn't tell me how to use the clicker. Top left more. Top left. There we go. All right. So as Brian said, I've been part of the LEGO community for quite some time. Here's some famous photos. Is there a laser? There's on the bottom. Okay, cool. So this is me, and this is also me, Jeremy, making 2 cameos here. This is me at the minifig speed build, which is an event that I tend to be very competitive, although not always successful. And then this is also me standing in front of friends, holding a little Olivia, and here I am. So I've been a part of the community for quite a while, and it all started about 17 years ago when my mother made a very grave mistake of muttering the words, quote, "These are so cute," end quote, while standing in the LEGO aisle of Toys R Us talking to my dad. So ever since then, I'm very happy to say that I cannot recall a single time in my childhood where my home did not have a LEGO room in it. In 2007, I went to my first LEGO convention as a registered 11-year-old attendee, which coincidentally was also the first Brickworld Chicago. And my family did not make it to Brickworld 2008, but in 2009, I actually gave my first presentation here as a 13-year-old. Here I am. So much clapping, this is great. Anyway, I spoke about girls and LEGO, and I later actually had the chance to talk with the then president and CEO of LEGO as well. And I also published these ideas in Brick Journal sometime over the course of that year, thanks to Joe. He's here, I'm not really sure. I haven't seen it, but that's no Joe, but that's okay. And then in 2010, I also gave a presentation for beginners on an introduction to the brick and also the LEGO community. So all that being said, I do have to admit that I don't really feel totally qualified to be up here presenting to you, because even though I have been a part of this community, I am now an art student living in Seattle, which is a little bit far from my original home in Nashville, Tennessee. So as you can imagine, building is a bit hard to come by as far as finding time and resources. But I do really love this community, and I think that one of the great things about it is that you can be an AFOL without specifically being a builder, which makes our community very diverse, and it also allows for all kinds of brick lovers to be a part of it. So aside from being a LEGO enthusiast and a student, as Brian mentioned, I also play rugby on my university team, and I enjoy doing anything creative, which also includes reading and writing, and these little tidbits will tie in later. So this makes for a great segue out of the introduction and into the bulk of my talk. So when Brian asked me to be the keynote speaker, I was kind of like, oh my gosh, like, I spend all Brickworld blabbing at people, and now I have to blab at them for like half an hour straight on a stage. So I thought, what in the world am I going to talk about? And Brian was kind of like, oh, you know, just talk about LEGO and your life. And so I started reflecting on this, and I realized that when talking about LEGO as a part of my life, I cannot avoid sharing life lessons as I do so. And I found that the opposite is also true. When I talk about the things that I have learned in life, I cannot avoid sharing stories about Brickworld and the things that I have learned while being here. So the title of my talk is oh so cleverly called, Building My Life with LEGO. So I have 5 little adages to share with you all today. All of them are life lessons that I have in some sort of roundabout way learned by being a part of this community. So here we go. Adage number 1. Adage number 1 is, it's not what makes you different that counts. It's what makes you the same. I can very vividly recall my first Brickworld. There were a handful of attendees, a few ballrooms with displays, a couple of workshops, some building challenges here and there was a cute little collection of GBC dudes. And there was me. I was 11 years old. Here I am on the, is this your right? Yeah, nailed it. Here I am. I was 11 years old. I was very scraggly and very noodly, which honestly is not that much unlike today. And I came with my brother and my dad in a couple of small mocks that I had made. But I couldn't seem to understand why so many people over the years would ask me what it was like to be a girl in the LEGO community. Like, what are these people talking about? I am here because I'm 11 years old and I like to build houses out of LEGO, along with running around outside and dressing up my dolls and building forts out of my parents' sofa. What's the big deal? It wasn't until later in life that I realized maybe I didn't exactly represent the norm. Basically, I didn't realize that most girls my age didn't play with LEGO. Either their parents never bought them for them because they didn't see a product that was well designed for girls, or they were too expensive, or they simply just weren't interested in building. And it wasn't until later in life that I realized I was not just a young girl at a LEGO convention, but I was pretty much the only young girl at a LEGO convention. I was surrounded, not by fellow 5th graders wearing the same tie-dye t-shirt every day, much to my mother's chagrin, but instead, I was surrounded by full-grown, aging male engineers from Indiana. I was different. Pardon me. This guy, definitely from Indiana. Yeah. But you know what? I didn't care. Because I, the scraggly, noodly, tie-dye t-shirt wearing 11-year-old that I was having the time of my life. And over the years, it has been my great delight to see the growth of this community, especially mothers attending with their daughters. And I am positively overwhelmed with what LEGO has quite literally built. It is a community that is as diverse as its array of parts, yet united by the same system. Here at Brickworld, we have many displays, ranging from architectural models, to microscale, to mecha, to GBC, to trains, and of course, space. The wealth of creativity is astounding and also inspiring, but no matter what we build, we use the same parts. And it is this inclusivity within this community, a community that although I had nothing outwardly in common with, yet was so accepted within, that has kept me coming back for years to come. In short, the factor that unites us is infinitely stronger than the categories that divide us apart. It's not what makes you different that counts. It's what makes you the same. Adage number 2, creativity without boundaries is just noise. This is actually one of my personal favorite sayings, and it's something that I learned very early on. Growing up, I was nearly always told that I was creative, which really actually translated to meaning that I loved doing arts and crafts and conveniently made all of my school projects out of Lego. But over the years, I have learned what it truly means to be creative. There are a lot of misconceptions about what it means to be creative or have creativity. If you create something, then yes, technically you are creative, but having creativity means something else. Any child who can make a finger painting is told that he is creative by his mother. But creativity itself is the ability to make something and solve problems, despite restrictions, limitations, and boundaries. For me, our Dirty Buildster Challenge produces some of the most creative mocks at this convention. We're faced with intentionally crappy pieces and a time crunch, and these kinds of boundaries and obstacles only unleash true creativity. So Lego, in the same sense, is one of the most creative media that I can think of. Lego is not just a toy. It is a highly sophisticated interconnected system. Time, there are only so many variations of the brick. So this means that there is a limit to what the brick can do. When setting out to build with Lego, one is facing a challenge. And it is a challenge that fosters creativity and harmony, as opposed to white noise. I cannot tell you how many times I have grown frustrated with the Lego system, just wishing that the pieces would fall into place for me. But the fact that we have made it this far, without 1x5 bricks, is amazing. Our creativity has only been heightened by our limitations. Building with Lego encourages us to work hands-on with each part to discover all of its uses and limitations. And it has helped me to become a better problem solver. Today, as I continue to create with any sort of medium, I find such joy in challenging its boundaries, in pushing paint to be more than just something out of a tube, or to let a piece of charcoal embody more than just a dirty, thick line. I find the most happiness when I achieve the most creativity, by pushing the boundaries of the medium itself, and by overcoming the obstacles that each one presents along the way. The vast display of creativity within these walls is truly remarkable, and I am always so overjoyed to see what everyone has created. As stated before, the diversity is astounding, and it is so wonderful to see creativity beautifully unleashed within the walls of this convention. Adage number 3, what's obvious to you isn't always obvious to others, and vice versa. So we all know that being a Lego enthusiast puts us inside a very unique community. Just look around you. These are your peers. However, for 2 days out of the whole entire convention, the secret of this community is revealed to the public. And most of the time, public days are stressful because everyone is gaping at things and kids are screaming, dads are tired, it's loud, and most of all, they ask us questions. And not just any questions, but questions that to us, the answer seems obvious, even to a newbie. Either that or the questions are really unimportant. How many pieces are there? How long did that take? Is that really Lego? So all day long we have to answer the same FAQs when really we are hungry and tired and our feet hurt, and Brian keeps making announcements over the intercom just to hear himself speak. He might take the microphone away from me after that comment. Anyways, it's in moments like this that I encourage you all to have patience. Because these people come to see you and your creations, and many of them don't even know that the LEGO community exists. Little children come to worship Tom Atkinson. And to us, everything seems so obvious. But at one point, we were all beginners. We were all that kid with sticky hands trying to touch the GBC. And at one point, we were confused about how to buy so much Lego at one time. We were also confused about how someone like Brian runs this whole thing, but then we realized it's all just capping. So, point being, what's obvious to you is not always obvious to others. And please know that for my family and me, being surrounded by and interacting with kind people is one of the things that make this event so fun. So, on public day, when anonymous mom number 452 is asking you for the 6 millionth time how long it took you to build your 5,000 piece mock, just smile and helpfully answer her questions, because all she wants is for little Jimmy to grow up and become a successful electrical engineer, just like Tom Atkinson. So be gracious and kindly explain to her that indeed, this did take you 6 months to build. Mostly because you have a real job that takes up most of your time, but you like to get it right. So there's lots of building and rebuilding, and you are just so very happy that she likes it. And you hope she'll come back and see things again next year, which is why, in our Brickworld goodie bags, we have a free fridge magnet coupon, with love from Brian to you. Adage number 4, 1 piece at a time. This adage I have found also has a lot to do with patience and being unafraid to try again and again. I want to make it very clear to everyone in this room that, in general, building with Lego is hard. It is not easy. And if you are a beginner, take heart because things will get easier. If you are an expert, share your knowledge and have patience with those around you. I can remember getting frustrated when I couldn't find the right piece to fit something together perfectly, or when I didn't have the skills to make whatever it was that was in my mind. I would grow antsy, just wanting to finish the model, or immediately gain all the skills that I needed in order to have a complete mock at my fingertips. It was times like these, when I would angrily stomp away from my projects, that my father would remind me, Olivia, it's okay. Remember, 1 piece at a time. I would sit back down and focus only on the task at hand, at finding the piece that I needed. Because only after I finish putting foundations in place can I complete what I really want to achieve. My dad also reminded me, Olivia, remember, when you're giving your keynote speech, say that sentence twice because it's really important. Only after I finish putting foundations in place can I complete what I really want to achieve. Even at these conventions, people will ask us, did you really build that? But how? The answer is comically simple in some ways. Well, I just built it, 1 piece at a time. There is no other way to do it. Mocks don't happen overnight, and they don't create themselves. They can only be made 1 piece at a time. As a student, my life sometimes becomes so full of assignments that I begin to feel anxious thinking about them. The stack of things that I have to do rises, while the sands in the hourglass fall. I have realized over the past few years that my anxiety stems from thinking into the future instead of being in the present moment. I feel anxious when I think about looming due dates or test days, but less anxious when I sit down to work on a project. I cannot think about the steps that I have not yet even laid the foundation for. I can only take things as they come and build them one piece at a time. Even in the broader scheme of my life, I, like many aspiring art students, have qualms and doubts about my career and personal life and who I will meet and the opportunities that will or will not arise. I grow anxious thinking about these things because they are distant and not totally within my control. I have to step back and look at the pieces around me. I am on step 21 of who knows how many, and I have to build where I am, in the present, which can only be done one piece at a time. And now, we have reached our last adage of the evening, which is by far the cheesiest one, but I am going to say it. Adage number 5, it's not the destination, it's the journey. So I'm absolutely certain that this is probably not the first time that anyone in this room has heard this saying. And I know that it sounds very overdone at first, but just bear with me because I have found that this adage is truly a lifelong journey. It starts when I was even littler than I am now, which is a little bit hard to believe, I know. But way back when I was in high school and able to click the slide, there I am. I played rugby on my school's club team. Here I am. Oh, wrong one. This is a hidden slide, actually. Okay, I completely lost control. I don't know what to do. But anyway, I played rugby on my high school club's team. And sometimes practice was really super fun because I got to hang out with my friends and chat during the drills and got yelled at when I dropped the ball. But I liked my coach and the people on the team, and we practiced until sundown. So let's just say that there were definitely times when me and my chicken arms were very ready for it to be dark. And the same thing would happen to me during games, mostly because I was very small and very terrified, but nonetheless, as much as the sport was fun to play, I would spend games with my eyes glued to the scoreboard, just praying that the clock would count down faster until the end of the game. And my relationship with LEGO was very much the same at this time. I built LEGO sets because I wanted to see with and play with the final product that was so fabulously advertised on the outside of its shiny box. In fact, I was even so fortunate as to have a father that somehow actually enjoyed sorting the pieces for me. So this only expedited the process. But then, I graduated high school and I got to college and I read assignments just to get them over with. I completed essays because I had to, not because I actually enjoyed learning and writing about them. I only did the work to get it done. But then, during my final years of college, something really weird started happening. I found myself on my college rugby team, so thoroughly enjoying hanging out and laughing with some of my closest university friends on the field, running around and passing the ball and smiling at each other and working together, that there were times when the final whistle would blow, and I glanced at the clock in disbelief. It's been 80 minutes already? And another really weird thing happened during my later years of college. I started having favorite authors. And I actually enjoyed reading for class. I was somehow able to lock myself in the reading room for hours, so much so that when my friends couldn't get a hold of me, they would come wandering into the library and know where to find me. I started pouring all of my time into reading these books that I loved, completely engrossed by mere words on a page. I would read and read and read and turn page after page after page, until suddenly, I would turn the page, and it would be blank. A blank page would look me straight in the face. And instantly, I was stricken with fear and sadness and confusion, not unlike the experience of the whistle unexpectedly blowing. What? This is the end of the book? But how can that be? But of course, not all college days are spent happily getting lost in books and playing rugby. I have had my share of freak-out moments, most of which are manifest in the form of me frantically calling my parents. Last semester, during a particularly difficult and stress-filled college day, I called my father. Dad, this is so hard and I have so many things to do, and this stupid integral is asking me to use a trigonometric identity inside a radical, and I have no money, and I've been eating PBJ for a week, and Brian Donahue wants me to write a keynote speech. Only to find that a couple days later, I received a package in the mail. And it was, I opened it to find that it was a surprise gift from my father, sent extra speedily via Amazon Prime. It was the LEGO City pizza truck, with a note included that read, "A gift for you. Hi, Olivia. I thought you could use some pizza. Heart, Dad." Did I almost start crying when I received this package? Yes. Did I also immediately sit down at my desk, fling the box open, and start building? Yes. And soon enough, I was thoroughly lost in the journey of the build, forgetting all of my other responsibilities, and wanting nothing more than to see what the next step would be. But then, I turned the page of the instruction booklet, and the page staring back at me was blank. And at first, I was confused. But when I looked up, I realized that all of the pieces were gone. And what stood in front of me was a completely intact LEGO City pizza truck, ready to serve its customers hot and fresh plastic pizza. The same thing that had happened to me while playing rugby and while reading had happened to me while building. I found that the last thing I want is for the clock to run out. The last thing I want is for the book to end. The last thing I want is for the build to be over. Because eventually, it's not the destination that matters. It's not about scoring points and gaining a victory, completing the book just to get an A, or building the set because I wanted to see the finished product. The value is in all of the things in between, in all of the tackles and passes that it took to make the try, in all of the words that so wonderfully excited me along the way, and most of all, in all of the steps that led me to the finished product. So here I am, again, at my 10th Brickworld, standing before you all to tell you to enjoy the time that we have here together this weekend. Brickworld always goes by too fast, but at the end of it all, we all look back and smile upon our experiences and interactions. And what is perhaps the best part, the one that brings me the most joy, is remembering that even after the clock has run out, even after the book has ended, even after the build is over, and even after Brickworld has come and gone, there will always be another game to play. There will always be another book to read, another set to build, and another Brickworld to attend. We are at another Brickworld, building and rebuilding, talking among one another, learning from one another, heckling one another, but most of all, we are enjoying the journey in the same way that LEGO has taught me to enjoy the journey and the build. That is my life. It is not the finished product of what I am or who I strive to be that matter. It is the little moments like this, where I get to stand in front of you all and preach mushy, over-philosophical things about little plastic bricks that bring my life so much joy. So this weekend, remember that we are all connected no matter how different we may be, that we are made more creative by the rules set before us, that what's obvious to us might not always be obvious to others, to take it one piece at a time, and to enjoy the journey, because heaven knows that the build ain't over yet. Thank you.